surpasses that weight restriction, that's when you need to get a new car seat. For Florida law, they should by law be rear facing until they're at least a year old. But actually, the recommendations nowadays are for up until 2 years old. They should be rear facing, just because it's safer, it's easier on their bodies to and with impact and that kind of thing. So
It's just hard because my friend's he's only 14, 15 months, and his legs are so long, he's all cramped up.
yeah, well, it's okay for their legs to be bent like this, like they can have their knees out. That's completely safe. It's shown to be okay for them to have their knees bent. And they have bigger car seats for babies. Like my nephew, he weighed so much when he was 5 months old. She had to get a bigger car seat because his weight outweighed the infant car seats. And what my son, who is 14 months, that little guy, he can still fit in the infant car seat, so that's where I'm leaving him because that's fit for him, so that's safest for him. So go by the car seat, and then once they move out of that, once they're about 3.5 to 4, you can move them to a booster seat. The key for that, as long as they know to stay in the booster seat, they can crawl out of it. And so for us, we tried to put our 3-year-old in it and he kept crawling out, so we switched him back to the big car seats. But then when he learned he had to sit still, when he turned 4, that's when we put him back in the little booster seat. And then you want to make sure that the strap doesn't come across their neck. You don't want to put it behind their back, but you want it to make sure it goes across their chest. And there's some things that you can buy to adjust them. I have to use the adjustables because I'm short, or else I'd still be in a booster. But like that. In some states, they say 4'11" until they can sit in a seat by themselves. Some states they have knee requirement, a weight requirement. It's 4'9". Is the 4'9". Dude, I wasn't that until I was in high school. So, but you want to do what's safest. Okay, so on the back of that sheet that we just talked about, there's a little bit about beyond 6 months, or 6 weeks, sorry. Beyond 6 weeks, somewhere around 3 or 4 months, your body goes through this little change. And you may notice that, it's a hormonal change, so you may notice that you may not feel as full of milk as you did. You're still able to feed your baby, you just don't feel as full as you did. And then your hair might start falling out in large clumps, especially in the shower. You're taking a shower and you do like this to rinse your hair out, and you do like this, and this whole handful of hair comes out. And you're going, it's okay, you're not going to go bald. But all the extra hair, you might notice your hair is a lot thicker right now. You notice that? It's gotten thicker? Well, it should be. You're not losing as much hair now, and so you're kind of storing it up for later. You're going to lose a little bit. Most of the time it happens. I guess it doesn't happen with everybody, but it can happen where. So, when that happens, don't freak out and think you're going bald. It's normal. Amenorrhea, which is the next one, is the loss of your cycle until baby begins solids. As long as you're exclusively nurse feeding, breastfeeding, nursing, then you should not have a cycle. It can be anywhere, as long as you're as long as your baby's not eating solids, it can be 4, 5, 6. With subsequent babies, it can be up to 8, 9, 10 months before you have another cycle. The problem, well, we'll get to that in a second. And then protect your back and shoulders. This is just a note with supporting your baby with pillows while you're nursing. As you hold your baby like this, those like trapezius muscles. Yes, not trapezoids. Yeah, your trapezius muscles are going to get strained, and you can get some really sore shoulders. And so you want to make sure that you're supporting baby while you're nursing with something like this. These are great if you have your nursing pillows yet, or just regular pillows stuffed up around you so that you have that extra support and you're not holding baby up with your arms. Also, just be careful
gardening thing possible with it?
Oh, the circle cap? No, it's just like a little
Is it like latex or is it like
top.
okay.
It's called a stem cap. If you want to ask your OB about it, they do it.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. Cool.
This sounds
it
stupid.
can, you know, it's an option.
This is kind of something foreign inside me with it this year.
Alright.
Anyway, something to consider though for the future, if you're interested, is those two. Also, if you want
something's wrong. We don't know what it is.